So most of the things we seek in life are to alter our mind, if you really think about it. Whether it's trying to make money, watching a movie, eating a dessert, dating, popping a pill, having a drink, or just going for a walk in nature, the underlying motivation is usually to change your state of mind from low to high. And given all the challenges people are facing these days, it's easy to end up in a low state of mind. So the desire to find something to get into a higher state of mind is both strong and entirely normal. In this episode, we'll explore the difference between altering your mind in a way that gives bad side effects versus altering your mind with no bad side effects. And we'll cover a 5-step process to get that natural high in a quick, easy, practical way. Hi, I'm Carla Rieger, and this is the Golden Age Timeline podcast. So most of us are familiar with possible bad side effects of certain kinds of recreational or pharmaceutical drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, chasing romance or sex for the high of it all, even the adrenaline rush of thrill sports. But there are many things you can do to get high without risking your well-being or pocketbook. In fact, you probably already engage in mind-altering activities that are good for you, but maybe you didn't name it as such. As I said, the desire to get high is natural. It's unhealthy and unnatural to stay in a low state for too long, to loop on that. Now, we do go up and down in terms of state of mind. That's normal. It's the roller coaster or the adventure of life we signed up for. The problem comes when you get stuck in trying to stay high, where you're resisting the lows, or some people even get stuck or almost addicted to the lows. And of course, what you resist persists, and what you try to stay attached to unnaturally will end up making you pay a price. So it's best to let it be a natural ebb and flow, going with what life brings without getting stuck along the way. I bring this up because so many of my clients over the years have come to me saying they've sabotaged their lives through chasing a high to counteract a low, but chosen the wrong method and ended up getting stuck in a low state. I too was caught up in partying, dramatic romances, substances in my younger years, only to regret the consequences, the deep low that inevitably followed the high. Most of us have done that to some degree or another in our lives. Our whole society, in fact, especially in the West, seems designed to lure us into false highs with big prices we then pay. So is there a high you seek that could be done in a healthier way? Sometimes all it takes is a small shift in perspective, a small daily habit, and you get the result you want without the bad side effects. Let's take one example. Now, I do risk being controversial here, but I do have to bring this up. I will say that I've been a long-time skeptic of the pharmaceutical industry, even of many recreational drugs. I personally developed big health issues from intense antibiotics supplied to me by my doctor throughout my 20s that ruined the good bacteria in my gut and caused a long list of allergies. When nothing worked to fix it in the world of pharma, I turned to natural healing and found what I needed. As a result, I studied natural healing in depth after that. Now, you too may sway towards natural healing, and you may also be a skeptic of the pharmaceutical industry. Many people are these days. In fact, many shows villainize big corporate pharma, like in the limited series that's out now called Dope Sick, or blockbuster movies such as The Fugitive and Mission Impossible 2, or even The Simpsons like to satirize the excesses of it all. It's almost become a cliche that this multi-billion-dollar industry actually creates issues just so they can manufacture a drug to solve it, manipulating regulatory bodies and settling wrongful death and injury suits on the sly so they don't have to be accountable. But even with this large preponderance of skeptics, there's this strange phenomenon where lots of those skeptics will let Big Pharma entirely off the hook when it comes to drugs that treat mood. As of 2021, nearly 65 million Americans had been prescribed at least one mood-altering drug. And that's just the US. If we add in the rest of the world, that's a huge number of people. And 5 years before, the number was 40 million. Now, 40 million was already sky high. But 50 years ago, you just wouldn't have seen that kind of thing. It's like there's all this new supposed mental illness. When I studied counseling psychology in university, we studied the DSM, which lists all these mental disorders. Interestingly, over the last few decades, the DSM has been expanding with more and more new mental disorders. In fact, almost every single human emotion or personality trait or impulse has become a mental illness. In fact, you can open up the DSM and probably find at least 5 mental illnesses that would apply to you just going through your day. Now, this is very handy for a drug company looking to make money, and they don't seem to care about the significant and often dangerous side effects of these drugs and perhaps how they're altering people's brains en masse. So there's this diagnosing of conditions that we barely understand and drugging them based on poorly supported and sometimes demonstrably false theories in regards to these mood-altering drugs. What's strange is that critics of this industry seem to not be so critical of this area of pharmacology. Strange as it seems. Among some circles, for example, it's been taken as truth for many years that drugs are necessary to treat, say, depression, because the condition is caused by a quote-unquote chemical imbalance in the brain. I think this is an idea that people have absorbed subconsciously from propaganda from the companies that make them. And I know from experience that if you question it, if you dare suggest that maybe there's more to it than a chemical imbalance, you can be viciously attacked for your heresy. I was diagnosed with depression once, many years ago, and when I said I'd try an herbal remedy like valerian and inner coaching work instead of a pill, so many people around me and the experts thought I was crazy. But it worked, at least for me. I know many others have found it very difficult, and it's a complicated issue, and I don't pretend to know why, but just consider this. I figure I had helped create this situation through how I was thinking, maybe lifestyle choices, maybe trauma from my past, but I wanted to be the one to fix it, not to rely on something external. I knew that my will, focus, and imagination were astoundingly powerful. There's this myth that breaking free of things like depression, anxiety, or addiction is really, really hard, almost impossible. If you want to keep people dependent or control, that would be a good myth to propagate. So I think through various means of propaganda, advertising, medical reports, articles, news reports, social media, people start to believe that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I think something is hard, I'll make it hard. Now, I've broken myself free of all three, depression, anxiety, and addiction, and so have many of my clients through natural remedies, lifestyle changes, and most importantly, inner will, focus, and imagination. Imagining the life and health you want instead of what you don't want. Doing the inner coaching work, availing oneself of supportive people, healers, groups, information. Now, I will say there are extreme trauma conditions that are complex, and I don't begin to understand how to help people in those situations, but I'm talking about everyday people with everyday stress that 50 years ago seemed to manage okay without a prescription to manage their chemical imbalance. But I figure that people like the chemical imbalance idea because it seems simple and because it totally absolves the individual from the responsibility to do anything to help solve their own mental troubles. Yet, isn't that the point of life? To go on a mythic adventure, face challenges so you can learn to overcome them? If you just roll over and say, I just can't, and believe me, I've felt that way sometimes, doesn't it just defeat the purpose of life? At some point, it does serve to forge yourself in the fire of intense challenge so you can emerge the hero of your life, so you can bring that strength and wisdom to others, to be in service to others because of the trials and tribulations you've faced and overcome. In fact, there's a scene in the series Dope Sick in which the head of the company that makes this painkiller drug based on opioids that was advertised as being non-addictive, which was in fact very addictive, and he tries to get it into Germany but can't. That's because of a cultural bias against sweeping pain under the rug versus the strength you gain from facing it. But in the North American market, they were making billions because of a different cultural bias. People seeing it as okay to avoid pain at all costs, but then missing out on the joys and power and strength building of self-growth by facing it. In my opinion, the chemical imbalance has never really had any substantive evidence to support it. It strikes me as a marketing slogan rather than a medical diagnosis. In fact, even in mainstream publications, there is a study going around. It was reported recently by The Guardian. The headline reads, "Little evidence that chemical imbalance causes depression." The article says that scientists have called into question the widespread use of antidepressants after a major review found no clear evidence that low serotonin levels are responsible for depression. Yet, prescriptions for antidepressants have risen dramatically, especially since the 1990s. And 1 in 6 adults and 2% of teenagers in England are now being prescribed antidepressants. Many people take them because they've been led to believe that their feelings of depression have a biochemical cause. But this new research suggests that this belief is not grounded in evidence. The study's lead author, Joanne Moncrief, a professor of psychiatry at University College London, says, "It is always difficult to prove a negative, but I think we can safely say that after a vast amount of research conducted over several decades, there is no convincing evidence that depression is caused by serotonin abnormalities, particularly by low levels of reduced activity of serotonin." And thousands of people suffer from side effects of antidepressants, including the severe withdrawal effects that occur when people try to stop taking them. Yet prescription rates continue to rise. Partly that's due to the chemical imbalance theory that is not grounded in substantive evidence. So it would seem that Big Pharma has made billions of dollars fixing a problem that does not exist. Now, depression certainly exists, but depression caused by a chemical imbalance is a myth. A recent poll suggests that 85 to 95% of the public believes depression is caused by low serotonin or a chemical imbalance. And many antidepressants are about correcting abnormally low serotonin levels. A review published in the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry looked at studies examining serotonin and depression involving tens of thousands of people. One of the findings was that research comparing levels of serotonin and its breakdown products in the blood or brain fluids did not discover any difference between people diagnosed with depression and healthy people. The authors also looked at studies where serotonin levels were artificially lowered in hundreds of people and concluded that lowering serotonin in this way did not produce depression in hundreds of healthy volunteers. Other studies looked at the effects of stressful life events and found that the more stressful life events a person had experienced, the more likely they were to be depressed, showing the importance of external events and, even more importantly, how people chose to interpret those external events. For example, 2 people who loved their job get fired. Both are initially angry, upset, sad, because having those negative emotions is part of the human experience. But one person decides that means there's something better out there for her, and she gets into action to find it. And the other one decides that means life is against her, she isn't worthy of keeping a good job, and there are no other good jobs like that anyway, and she goes into a depression and doesn't find anything new. Often at the root of depression and anxiety is a belief that life doesn't have my back. I can't trust God, the creator of the universe. Or if you're an atheist, it's just that belief that good things happen to other people. Those who don't get depressed, they get down, but they don't go into long-term depression, tend to believe the opposite. Life does have my back. I can trust God, the creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Or if they are an atheist, it's the belief that good things do happen to them sometimes. They are a magnet for good things. And a belief like that is simply your choice. It's completely arbitrary. You can change your mind in any moment of any day around this, and life will change dramatically for you. So the slings and arrows of everyday life and how we choose to interpret them and then act on them, this is what actually affects our moods, emotions, thoughts, and mental states. And even if the chemical imbalance thing was true, what is our balance supposed to be? How do we know it's unbalanced? Is the unbalance diagnosed? When I was told I had a chemical imbalance, no one offered to give me a brain scan or a blood test or any other sort of physical medical test to confirm that this imbalance existed before being offered a treatment. Yet with other physical ailments, that's normal. And a chemical imbalance sounds like a physical problem. An imbalanced spine, you get an x-ray. Imbalanced sight, you get an eye test, right? Also, according to the research, there is evidence from other studies that antidepressants may actually induce low serotonin in the long term. It may actually create the problem it's supposed to fix. One of the side effects of several mood-altering drugs is suicidal thoughts, which is morbidly ironic because, again, that's the problem they're supposed to help treat. I've personally known someone who had high self-esteem, loved life, loved his family, but got anxious when he lost a job, so he started taking an anti-anxiety pill and a few months later committed suicide. Everybody who knew him was baffled. I do suspect that some of these pills cause people to think certain self-destructive, dangerous thoughts. That fact alone should give us pause. Now, does this mean that there's no physical aspect of depression? Well, of course not. There's going to be a significant physical element to the problem along with emotional, mental, even spiritual. It's a multifaceted and complicated situation. Depression is defined as a feeling of emptiness, despair, hopelessness, meaninglessness. If a person is feeling that way, it's almost always impossible to start to discern one simple cause. There are internal and external factors all tracing back to the universal human condition, the fact that we are mortal beings living in a world of duality with lots of pain and suffering and intense challenges to face, or limitations, external and external, in our lives that can easily create a sense of aimlessness and boredom where we can't seem to fulfill our dreams. In short, these feelings are not crazy, they're not delusional, there's reasons for them. If people are not able to find empowering meanings in the face of all the challenges and terrible things that come with being a human being in the world, maybe they just need some training in that. It's not like we're taught constructive ways to deal with life's challenges in school or university. It's something we have to find out on our own through intense seeking. And that's what we do at MindStoryAcademy.com, is teach small, practical ways to retrain your mind and how to process these intense things we have to deal with in life. There are free offerings on the free tab, and there are online courses and coaching. In the show notes is a link to coaching and to our MindStory Blueprints online course, which helps you retrain your brain in 15 of the most empowering beliefs that help you overcome life's challenges and turn them into something constructive and empowering in your life. And normally it's hundreds of dollars, but for a short time it's available for only $37 US. And here are 5 practical ways to get a natural high, which can help override the low states brought on by our inner thoughts and the challenges we have to face. You can do these in your own mind right now as you're listening, or what's even more powerful is doing them on paper. Just keep one particular challenge in mind as you do this, as it helps give you a focus and an immediate outcome to see if these work for you or not. Now, Will a low state of mind be immediately replaced by a soaring high? Maybe, maybe not. But anything that takes you from really low to really high is likely going to throw you off balance, and the pendulum will swing back and forth strongly until you reach neutral center again. These are designed to give you subtle highs that, over time, through repetition, put you back in a default, positive, happy, centered, optimistic state more easily, so that it's your natural state. And I do believe that positive, happy, centered, optimistic is natural and normal. And that's the good news. That means the brain, mind, body system will more easily anchor into a state that is natural for it, that is stress-free, that allows you to thrive. A human wouldn't naturally evolve to a place where our default is negative, unhappy, unbalanced, and pessimistic, because it's much harder to survive and thrive as a species if that's your default state. So don't expect miracles right away, but expect to build strength over time. The key is repetition. Just short practices in these ways daily over time build enormous power. So think of one thing. For example, if you're worrying about money or have a health issue or a business decision you can't seem to make, or a disagreement with a family member you can't seem to solve, or just a sense of confusion about your life direction. Choose one now. Step 1. Focus on what you do want instead. David White, an expert on workplace creativity, is quoted as saying, "The antidote to exhaustion is not necessarily rest, but often it's wholeheartedness." I believe that's because many people, when faced with a challenge, tend to focus on and communicate about what they don't want instead of what they do want. For example, "I'm worried because I'm spending more than I'm earning" becomes, "I'd like to have more income than what I need to spend each month." Or, "I'm tired of this constant back pain" becomes, "I'd like to have a healthy back." Sounds simple, but do you actually practice this as much as you could? That habit alone of reframing towards what you want starts to create a new story in your mind about how your life will go. You start envisioning earning more than you spend and having a healthy spine. This primes your brain to focus on creating those outcomes. When you're in solutions mode like that, your heart gets involved and you develop wholeheartedness, as David White referred to, that brings your whole self to the matter at hand. And you get high just because now you're in creative solutions mode instead of complaining mode. Step 2, love the rocks. Once long ago, a Zen master was able to remove very big rocks, yet he was a very fragile man. It was almost impossible looking at his physiology. Much stronger men than him were unable to pull those same rocks, and he would simply pull them with little effort. When he was asked what his trick was, he replied, "There is no trick. I love the rock, so the rock helps. I simply hold the rock lovingly and wait for a sign. It's usually a shudder, and my whole spine starts vibrating, and then I move. If I move before this sign, then it's against the rock, and I can't do it. If I flow with the rock, then the rock just moves itself." Sometimes things don't change because they aren't ready to change. For example, your body might be keeping on extra weight as a way of protecting your body from excess toxins in your fat cells. You may need to cleanse your body before your body will release the excess weight. You may also have a habit of cursing your body for holding on to excess weight. This can make the body subconsciously want to rebel. One client, Tracy, reported using this weird, fun, but simple tactic. When she weighed and measured herself, if she gained weight or stayed the same, she gave herself a gold star on a sheet just for tracking her results either way and staying supportive of herself regardless of the external results. If she did lose weight, she got 2 gold stars. And although that may seem silly or inconsequential, it actually made a huge difference. Going after goals often triggers the relationship you had as a child with an authority figure, say a teacher or a parent. We often internalize that authority figure. You can change a disempowering inner authority figure to an empowering guide and mentor anytime you want. You're in control of the game. In her case, it did change that inner relationship, thereby training her brain to be happy with her body no matter what. It was an important psychological and physiological way for her to break free of negativity patterns around weight. And this, she feels, was the linchpin, the transforming idea that finally allowed her to shed excess pounds. Step 3, de-clutter. In the book Unclutter Your Life, Transforming Your Physical, Mental, and Emotional Space, the author Katherine Gibson says, often people can't change because they haven't cleared out the old first. Just as an artist cannot paint a new painting until she creates a blank canvas, sometimes you need to clear something from your mental, emotional, or physical palette before a new possibility can arrive. Here are some interesting reports from our clients who have chosen to declutter at a variety of levels. One man claimed that soon after decluttering his basement, a long overdue debt that was owed to him miraculously showed up. Has something like that ever happened to you? Another woman said that forgiving an ex-partner, which might be called emotional decluttering, finally allowed her to open up to a new romance. A third client said that writing out all her complaints about her new job and then burning the piece of paper, which is a form of mental decluttering, allowed her to actually start enjoying her new job. Step 4 is download your inner genius. So if you play tennis with someone or do any kind of activity with someone who is better than you, you tend to improve. You are picking up skills subconsciously by osmosis. It's like downloading information or a certain kind of genius from someone else's biocomputer, just like you would from a website onto your laptop. And you can do this with anything, and you can do it without anyone else being present. You can just think about someone who's good at something that you want to be good at. So here's how you can do it, say with a particular problem you face right now. Think of that problem and then simply ask yourself, if I were exceptional at solving this problem, what would I do that I'm not doing now? For example, if you feel overwhelmed by your task list, you could say, if I were exceptional at time management, what would I do that I'm not doing now? And just keep asking this over and over again until your biocomputer processes an answer for you. Because, as I've said in other episodes, the brain is a goal-achieving device. So you have to give it a goal that you want. Otherwise, if you worry and think about things you don't want, you'll just be training your brain to create more of that. So in this case, my client Rick came up with this idea after asking himself that question. If I were exceptional at time management, what would I do that I'm not doing now? I would ask my brother how he is so organized. And he recommended a book by David Allen called Getting Things Done, which I've also read. And ever since reading and implementing those ideas, Rick almost always has a clear desktop and gets all his high priorities done. So that brings us to step 5, write a new mind story. So once you've done those first 4 steps, you can put them all together in a new mind story. And this is what I often help my clients do. Most successful people dissolve challenges by taking back control of the meaning they give to life's challenges and ensuring the better meaning sticks in the deeper part of the mind by writing out both the past and future mind story and reinforcing that regularly. What do I mean by that? So try this now on paper if you want. Think of one present day challenge and ask yourself, what is a challenge from my past that I overcame successfully and that is similar to what I'm now dealing with. For example, a client of mine was looking for funding to scale up her existing business, which was offering online courses on wellness, but few venture capitalists were wanting to invest in her kind of business. They wanted the kind of business that would go up like 100 times in 3 months so they could get their money back as soon as possible. Her kind of business was more for people who were patient, believed in slow, sustainable growth, and wanted to invest in something they felt was a values match, something they believed in. So a time in my client's past when she faced a similar situation was when she started her first business, which was a wellness center with various alternative practitioners, yoga, a juice bar, a meeting room that people could rent to run meditation classes, etc. That was her vision. At the time, she couldn't get traditional funding or even loans, but she allowed herself to think outside the box. After brainstorming with several people and researching possibilities, she came up with an idea that worked. A local chiropractic clinic had just ended a partnership with someone who used several rooms for a massage, and they shared the same space. He had this large office, but not enough services and practitioners now using the space. He decided to try a short-term agreement with my client, whereby she would use the space with him. They put on a big launch day event, and because her vision was a bit unusual, it attracted local media, which brought a lot of people out to the launch day, and that meant more clients for both of them. Eventually, they ended up expanding the space and had a successful wellness center for years. So that was a past MindStory where she got the support she needed to grow a business. Similar, right? The next question you ask yourself after writing out the past MindStory is, what was good about that experience? List as many things as possible. What might you have learned? How did you become more experienced, resilient, wiser, or better by having gone through this? So she made a big list and was amazed about all that she learned and all the ways she grew from that. Then summarize the challenge you're going through right now. In her case, not finding the funding she needs to expand her business. And she asks herself, what's good about this situation now? She listed as many things as possible, answering specifically things like, what might I be learning? How might I become more experienced, resilient, wiser, or innovative because I'm going through this experience right now? So that exercise made her remember attending a small business forum where she learned all about non-traditional funding sources. And her imagination went wild with the possibilities when she re-looked at her notes, which made her brainstorm and research and talk to people and open her mind to all kinds of new possibilities. So that's what you do, and then you write out a future mind story, also called a future memory. It's like a past memory, only told with details of how you want it to turn out. So you're just using your imagination here, so have fun with it. If you hear an inner voice say things like, well, that's silly, that will never happen, this will only create disappointment, this is something only Pollyanna people would do and just end up looking stupid even for thinking it could happen. So don't worry, those kinds of thoughts are normal. They are subconscious programs many people have that keep them from thinking big and creating miracles in their lives. But don't try to argue with or squash that voice. Just listen, include, and do it anyways. So you can just say to that voice, thank you for sharing your point of view. I will consider that moving forward, and then just get on with it. Now, some tips for making this work is to be specific in the outcome you want, but keep it more broad and open for how you get there. In other words, the purpose is to trigger the reticular activation system whereby you start seeing the world in terms of this outcome being possible. That may mean being open to ways of getting there that are outside your expectations, outside what you believe is possible, outside of what you've heard before. Most people don't solve complex problems in their life or in their world because they're only looking for solutions they expect. that which is inside what they already believe is possible. In other words, something they've done or heard of before. But the truth is, given how massively the world is changing, we can't look to the past for solutions. We have to imagine the world we want and look beyond the horizon for solutions. So that's what she did. She imagined writing this 5 years from now, looking back. I started my second business offering online courses and expert interviews to people around the world. At the time, I couldn't get traditional funding, but I allowed myself to think outside the box. After brainstorming with several colleagues and researching possibilities, I came up with an idea that worked. With their help, I created a video that attracted a few joint venture partners who made my online classes an add-on for their offerings to people. They ended up doing most of the marketing for me in the beginning, and that allowed me to grow quickly and hire good people to take me to the next level of success. Once I had a solid following, I attracted grants, equity, partners, and funding I'd never heard of before. They were people and groups that shared my values and vision for what I was trying to accomplish. They worked in a way that allowed my business to grow with integrity in a collaborative win-win way. I'm now operating all over the world, making a difference in millions of people's lives, and I love what I'm doing. Now, after you write that out, you might want to reread it from time to time to ensure it sticks. With our clients, we create what's called a neuro blueprint, customized for them and this particular vision, for example. They listen for a minimum of 66 days, which imprints it onto what's called the formative learning system in the deeper part of the mind so that it then comes about more effortlessly in their life. The strange thing is that many people reread that future memory a few years later and they're shocked to see how close it all turned out. Now, does it happen exactly like you write it out? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes it doesn't happen at all, but something far better happens or something different happens that needed to happen first in order for you to be ready for that goal. Life works in mysterious ways. But I do believe that if you have a vision, a business idea, a mission, and it really stirs you deep down inside, that it's not just something you think you should do because someone online said it was a good way to make money, something someone else programmed you with, but you are truly moved to do this from the higher mind, then I think it's meant to be. Sometimes there are challenges to overcome, of course, but that's part of the adventure and important experiences for you to learn and grow. That's when it's important not to give up on the ultimate outcome you're going for. Just stay focused on the ultimate outcome, keep letting go of the how, course correct as you go, and the how will unfold in unexpected and magical ways. And this MindStory process is just a tool to help you do that. Enjoy the process. Just so you know, we're having a mid-summer sale that is only available to people on my e-list and to those who listen to this podcast. There are 2 offers, both of which can help you if you're wanting to shift moods the natural way, and if you're wanting to manifest an important goal that's been eluding you. The first offer is to get 6 private coaching sessions with me, Carly Rieger. If you're an entrepreneur, freelancer of some sort, or want to be one, want to reinvent your career, or if you're a coach, consultant, speaker, educator, influencer, or commissioned salesperson, this is for you. You get customized help and ongoing accountability to jump to the next level. If you've been stuck in doubt or confusion, this will make a huge difference. The focus is to live your greatest potential and create a profitable business that feels fulfilling and on purpose for you. So up until Monday, August 15th, the 6 sessions are available for 25% off, plus you get a bonus half VIP day if you book the one pay. Look in the show notes for the link or go to the coaching tab at MindStoryAcademy.com. The second offer is to get the MindStory Blueprint online course. So if you can't afford coaching, this might be for you. As I mentioned, my partner Dave O'Connor and I create customized versions of these blueprints with our coaching clients. Now you can get generic versions here. You get 15 of the most empowering beliefs you need to elevate your mood naturally and achieve unprecedented goals. Up until Monday, August 15th, you can get this online course for 95% off or only $37. It's never been listed that low before, so get it soon if you're interested. Look in the show notes for the link. Now, to hear about more episodes or offers like this, go to goldenagetimeline.com/podcast and sign up on our e-list. So that's it for today. I hope it was useful. Do hit like and share as that helps others find it. Until next time, thanks for listening.